Thought I'd do a video on executive dysfunction. As someone with Asperger's, I think that's probably the thing I struggle with the most. And what executive dysfunction is, it's basically, to put it simply, that it is it's where you're not motivated, and I think a lot of people would mistake it for laziness, and so it's things like where you'll struggle to find the motivation to do what's seen as normal everyday tasks. Things like brushing your teeth, showering, cleaning your house. I think like stuff like doing tasks, so like work, like you might, I don't know, I'm no medical profession or anything, so I might get things wrong here, but probably things like when you're working and it could lead to like burnout, or you just in your own little world, and you just don't really know how to start a task. Like I feel like one example of that is when I used to go to my grandma and granddad's house, down south, and my granddad used to be into like pigeons, and had like a loft or something somewhere. So I went round there to like help out a bit, and do some tasks, and I really just could not find myself to find the motivation to do it. Where I probably struggled more with this as a kid, but where I probably just like, don't know, set it aside and do anything to try and avoid to do that task. And the same with like school as well, where I'd just not feel like doing a task, like doing my work, where I'd probably like just sit there and do nothing basically. Sometimes, not all the time, where it's a bit of like an on and off thing, but where I just don't have an on and off switch to turn my motivation on, and quite a bit of the time where I just can't find the motivation to do the work, or to bother to, don't know, process doing the work, like listening and all that. I don't think it's that I wasn't capable of doing the work. It's just more like I just weren't motivated to do it. So I think they're like a few examples of dysfunctional, executive dysfunction, functioning issues, all that sort of stuff, and like I think that's something I don't really understand how my Asperger's truly affects me, but I think I'm starting to learn things through recent years, especially like making these sort of videos, that I'm starting to think maybe that is the Asperger's. And I'm starting to like, that is probably the thing I struggle with. Like I've probably mentioned it in other videos, where like I literally like struggle to find the motivation to do what's seen as simple everyday tasks. And I think like when like normies, neurotypicals, all that sort of shit, like that they seem to do it automatically. Like I do get myself a bit like, you know, confused, like how do they actually fucking manage to find the motivation to do certain things, and I think that really is something that's set me back in life quite a lot. I think, and I think it's not even just small everyday tasks. It's probably just stuff like, I don't know. I think a current thing at the minute is trying to get my driving license, and there's times where I'm just like, I just can't be bothered. like, whereas one point where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try and pass my license. I'm basically just gonna fucking wing it and just do it because that's just the only way I know how to get through things. That's basically how I got through uni and all that. But then there's just times where I don't know, like I just completely lose motivation, and I sometimes might even like forget to do certain things, and especially things like trying to pass my driving license, trying to pass my theory test, practicing for my theory test, and things like trying to apply for jobs where I just completely lose motivation and end up doing something else that I'd rather be spending my time doing. And that's very typical of me, I think, and something that, like, anyone that knows me probably knows that this is what I truly struggle with. Like that pretty much sums up my autism or Asperger's or whatever you can fucking call it these days. But that's what I truly struggle with, and but I don't know, like obviously like school, I probably struggled with this sort of stuff, like homework. I think a lot of people are not really motivated to do the homework, but like I'm obviously was the sort of person that never really bothered doing the homework because I just didn't feel like doing it, or like I kept basically forgetting to do it because I'd rather, once school was done, that's time to switch off. Like I'd rather just do my own, and having to do like extra work just didn't make sense to me. Same with like college, where I was expected to just basically do stuff when I get home. Like fucking pretty much it was the expectation to continue doing your coursework when you're fucking at home, where really in my head it makes sense that I go to college to do the work, then once I'm home I switch off because that's just normal to me, and I think, to be honest, that's what should be normal in general. But I think the way society's built and expectations, I think that people literally expect you to work 24/7, it feels like, and maybe getting very little sleep, and they still expect you to basically work like fucking more than 12 hours a day. That's how it feels. Like the work doesn't stop once you get home, and that's probably why I struggle to walk into jobs and stuff, because that's literally the expectations, especially just the way society is and all that. But that's probably a topic for another video, to be honest. And like somehow I found the motivation to do it enough to pass my degree. So I don't know, like maybe there needs to be a clear reason where I probably did it with uni, because I felt like my future depended on it, which turned out not to be the case. Where it probably turned out to be very useless in that sense. But yeah, that's life for you. And yeah, I think that's something I probably struggle with the most. Finding the motivation to just do normal, it's maybe even what's seen as small tasks to normal people, but it's like cleaning. I really do fucking struggle where I probably would. I typically leave stuff till like last minute, like if I feel like the house is getting too dirty or like too cluttered, like I'd end up cleaning it then, like just to make it functional. But I might even half-arse it. I do as much as I can be arsed doing to actually make it somewhat functional again, but still not perfect. Nowhere. If you go to a lot of people's houses, seems to be like spotless and really clean. But I think like personally, I don't think I live in a house that's that messy. But it could be better. It could be worse. It's not perfect. Where there's probably don't know. You might find the odd sock on the floor or something, but in my head that's seen as quite normal. Where I don't know, like I've been into people's cars that are probably in a similar state where you might find the odd thing here and there, like the odd fucking, don't know, chocolate bar wrapper on the floor or something. And you'd think they would be someone that takes pride in cleaning and all that shit, but I don't know. But yeah, just a few examples of it. To be honest, I'm just waffling for waffling's sake in this video, but yeah, for now that's my thoughts on that. I might speak more on this topic at some point because usually I forget to mention things, but executive dysfunction that probably sums up my Asperger's. And yeah, another thing is I know it's all stereotypes and all that, but I've always thought that's probably more of like an ADHD sort of trait because I feel like I'm not a medical professional, like I said, but and I don't mean to like stereotype, but I thought like things like Asperger's, autism was a bit more about routine, strict routine, and I'm the complete opposite of a strict routine where I don't really have a routine. I'm a bit all over the place, I'm a bit messy, you know what I mean? And so I've always thought maybe that is, I thought that's probably more of like an ADHD trait, but I think like these days a lot of people are getting diagnosed with both autism and ADHD and all that, but yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about that at the minute. So yeah.